Yes.
The presentation took place and he disappeared with his driver. And
yes, but may I ask something?
A year later, the University of Crete was about to donate me an honorary doctorate. Well, I came with my partner and we went to the former mosque, which is now the town hall, and it was beautifully with flowers, and it was a real wonderful thing.
Yes.
And when we were about to begin, 5 minutes before, a group of some 10, 20 crazy fellows came in and started yelling, traitor, fascist, and, well, stupid things.
Yes.
And they had to interrupt the distribution of the honorary PhD. I have photographs of this. And the funny thing was, in the beginning, before they yelled, I spoke with one of them in Greek, and well, he was very kind and called me File, not enemy. And
yes.
then, well, the whole story was over. Now, the university was closed. But on the next day, they brought me into it. And I have photos. 2 male colleagues and 1 female colleague were there, and some 20 students. And I had to deliver a lecture. I did. And the students were delighted.
Yes.
And then they gave me the honorary doctorate. And I thought, okay, was nice. A few months later, I learned that the general was trying to take it away from me. And then there was a meeting of all professors of the Senate. And I sent my 2 lawyers from Athens. And they told those guys, look, you risk to make to yourself absolutely ridiculous. If you base your arguments on some lousy newspaper articles of Crete, you will become ridiculous. Then you must read his 40 books then and prove that he makes mistakes. They could never. In the meantime, I've written 73 books and I'm working now on 74.
Okay.
And I told them, look, I'm the only one in Germany, the only professor interested in modern Greek history and modern Cypriot history. There's no one else.
Yes.
And there's not even a library in Germany. My library here is the biggest in Western Europe on Greek and Cypriot history. And the whole thing, well, then my lawyer said, when this committee decided stop it, do it on the basis of his books, finished. Then came a new director who did not give a damn what the Senate had decided, and simply wrote to me and told me, we have taken the doctorate from you. I gave this to my lawyers, and they said he can't do it. The responsibility lies with the Simulio Epikratias.
See.
Another crazy thing is that who is it there now? He, not me. The former director of the university is Simulio Epigratias, and he will be beat. Crazy.
Okay,
But,
I want to ask you a few details.
Yeah.
First of all, after you received the honorary doctorate, a lot of websites and newspapers wrote against you.
Yeah.
Many of them are not serious criticisms. Maybe if we have time later on, I would like to discuss your conclusions from the Battle of Crete.
Nobody read my books.
Yes.
Nobody, except a few scholars.
Mm.
None of the journalists ever had an eye into them. It is the old anti-German habit which exists. And instead of looking what has he done, there's no one else in Europe who wrote more than I did. Imagine 73 books.
Yes.
There's nobody who wrote so many books, and all on Greece and Cyprus.
Would you base this anti-German sentiment, maybe it had to do with, I mean, wider issues like with Angela Merkel and Schäuble?
Yeah. It is a prejudice.
Yes.
You see, they believe, the general belief that I'm right-wing.
Yes.
For 50 years, I've been a member of the Social Democratic Party of Germany. That means I'm a leftist.
Yes.
And therefore it's ridiculous to call me a fascist. Absolutely the opposite. And one of my closest friends in Greece was the boss of Coucou Esoterikou.
Yeah.
I was invited by him.
Excuse me, you mean Leonidas Kirkos?
Yeah.
Oh, you knew Leonidas Kirkos?
Central committee meeting.
Yes.
And they discussed with me leftist problems. Some years later, I have photos of this. He told me, you influenced Coucou Esoterikou. We became, I said, yes, left social democrats, but no longer communists, or Moscow type communists.
Yes.
And I enjoyed these meetings, and I felt at home at Coucou Esoterikou.
Have you ever met Alexis Tsipras? Because Syriza is the advancement of Coucou Esoterikou.
Tsipras I never met,
Yes.
but I knew Andreas Papandreou, I knew Panayotis Kanelopoulos, and even Yorios Papandreou. Even during the junta, I went there and visited him, and you see, and I knew most AM leaders, the leftists of EDES, Pyromaglu, we were very close friends, and they all understood that I'm Ellinophilos.
From what I have read, you have been influenced by your friend from EDES in your approach to Greece. This is what I've read in a lot of critics. Is that true?
Pyromaglu?
Yes.
Well, we discussed. To a certain degree, we were very close because he was a member of Coucou Esoterikou as well.
Yes.
And he had studied in Paris, was a French leftist, and so we were more or less the same quality.
Yes.
Yeah? And when I came to for my doctorate to Greece, this was in '67. First of all, I got my democratic education. I became a convinced Democrat. I saw junta.
Yes.
And then I met dozens and dozens of former Eamites, former Edesites, all left. And they influenced me. That means I knew most of the leaders of EDA. I knew Chirimokos, and then well, in principle, everybody of the Democratic Party.
Did you ever meet Manolis Glezos and Lakis Sanders?
We are friends.
Yes.
And he then had his bookshop.
Yes.
And he knew even my daughter. And Eleni is her name. She was in Itansto Eliniko Nipiagogio, que mesri σήμερα μιλάει ελληνικά.
Τα ελληνικά σας είναι πολύ καλά. Γιατί δεν μιλάτε ελληνικά?
Well, she is director of computer science of one of our big companies and professor for computer science in the University of Lucerne in Switzerland, parallel. And whenever there's an international conference, she's invited to deliver a speech. Whenever I have a problem with my computer, I give her a telephone call, and then she comes via the internet and repairs everything. She's fantastic.
Remotely, yes. Let's go back to the trial, the prosecution. When you heard about the prosecution, I'm trying to understand your feelings. How did you feel when you found out that you were going to be prosecuted?
I was not bothered. You know why? When I began to work in 1967, I learned my lessons. These attacks did not change anything in my behavior towards Greece. Η Ελλάδα για μένα είναι μια δεύτερη πατρίδα.
Yes. I've heard you repeat it over and over again, which means that you really believe it, and it's important for you. Okay, and why didn't you attend the trial?
Pardon me?
Why didn't you come to the trial? Why didn't you attend the trial?
In 1958, I didn't know what I should do in life. And I took my tiny 50 cubic centimeter motorbike,
yes,
produced by NSU, and drove to Greece. And 3 kilometers before the frontier, all of a sudden, it broke. And from then on, I walked. I walked from there to Yanina, through the mountains. And hitchhiking didn't work because then who had a car in 1958? Only the very rich one.
Yes, true.
And I saw destroyed villages by the Italians, by the Germans, by the communists, by the nationalists. And I said to myself, good God, if I have ever the chance to put my nose into this more closely, I will do it. I was interested. And then I met hundreds of simple people, and in this way it started. I was interested in wanting to help the Greeks. And then I went back to school. You understand the word Abitur? the finals.
Yes.
After 9 years. And then I studied history, political science, Anglistics and Americanistics at the University of Heidelberg.
Very good.
And when I had finished this in 8 semesters, normal was 14, 15, 16, but I did it in 8. And I said to my professor, listen, I would like to write a dissertation on Greece in World War II, on resistance and. He said, okay, go. And I got an hypotrophia, 1967, under the junta.
Yes.
And on the one hand, I went into details and looked for material. And on the other hand, I was educated a Democrat. I understood what dictatorship means. And since then, I'm against any dictatorship, be it right or left, no matter. It's not democracy.
Yes. Okay. We agree on that in general terms.
Yeah.
What I wanted to ask you, another question that I wanted to ask you is, okay, after the trial, which of course you were acquitted because it was unconstitutional. The Article 2 was unconstitutional, and I think that was the correct thing to do. I mean, by the court. You went to the High Court, to the Συμβούλιο Επικρατείας.
It was when there was the trial. I asked the German embassy, "Can you help me?"
Yes.
Yes, we have 3 lady lawyers in Crete. I immediately understood that they are linked with the court. If I take them, I will lose the trial. And then I went to the university and I knew a professor of law of the University of Athens. And he said, well, I have 2 brilliant former pupils of mine. And I'm still in contact with them, and I paid for them, and they flew to Athens, to Crete. Well, and simply made it.
Mr. Athanasopoulos, you mean?
This was, yeah.
Yes, one of them is Mr. Athanasopoulos, from what I know.
And they did a brilliant job. And even the general was impressed by them.
Okay. But you did not attend the court. You did not come to Crete.
No.
Were you ill or was something else?
I simply did not want to go to a Greek court.
Yes.
I didn't feel like. I knew that there would be accusations and well, I knew Greece.
Yes. I mean, were you afraid that...
Misoelinas.
Were you afraid that populism would spread?
No. I knew these 2 Athenian lawyers would save me.
Okay.
And they are even today on my side and help me even in the Συμβούλιο Επικρατείας. They continue. And when the court was over, we went to Athens, my partner and I, and we had a meeting in a restaurant, and it was really a pleasant evening, well, a typical Greek evening among friends.
Very good.
And, I had no hard feelings.
This is
Όπως είπα, η Ελλάδα είναι η δεύτερη πατρίδα μου.
Yes, I was wondering, to be sincere, when I started reading more about the Richter case, as we call it, I was wondering if you had any feelings that would make you, detest what had happened, or why did I publish this book?
Such things happen in Greece.
Yes.
For Greeks too.
Yes, that's true.
And well, as I know Greece, I was not angered, a bit annoyed, but okay, forget it. And nothing has changed. And in Germany, newspaper journalists come to interview me, and even in politics, they come to me and ask for my advice. As I told you, I'm the only person in Germany who knows modern Greece and modern Cyprus. And I explained to them, look, the Cypriots are totally different. One thing does not exist in Cyprus, or pelatiasmos. Do you know that I invented the Greek word?
Yes, yes, you told me yesterday. Yes, I've seen it on the show.
Pelatiasmos is the basis of Greek politics and the catastrophe for Greece. Compared with Cyprus, even the Turkish Cypriots are Europeans. The Turkish Cypriots, not the invaders. That's a different story. I even 2 times I was the go-between between Gliridis and Denktash.
Yes.
Because both trust me. I have photos of both with me. We were just, Denktash respected me, and so did I with him. And Gliridis, we were very close friends. And imagine, for 35 years, the Cypriot governments invited me once a year to show me off what is going on. And recently, I was able to intervene again. Der Spiegel offers a trip to Cyprus for 199 euros. If you look at the photos, you notice immediately this is northern Cyprus.
I see.
I rang up the embassy and told them you should intervene in this case. Der Spiegel is very reliable, and under normal circumstances they know what they do, but in this case they are victims of some stupid people.
I see.
But they listen to me.
Okay. What still remains important for me is that the university said that they removed your honorary doctorate because you made some absurd or not very good
the background
things on the newspapers and the media.
There is a journalist lady in Athens, and she made an interview on the basis of gossip.
I see.
And it was not bad, but a little bit like gossip. And this was used against me. This is the basis. And she apologized 100 times in the meantime, and she knows that she gave the ammunition to the general.
So you're saying that the damage was done, but then she apologized.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
I noticed one thing. Well, even in Crete, the majority of the people know me and are very friendly. an excuse. And one thing happened with my partner. She was an archaeologist, and she worked in Samos for 30 years. And well, we met and went together. And 7 years each spring we went to Samos. In the morning we worked. She went to the museum and had a second look at her own excavations. And she wrote the book in the morning, and I made the book because I have a long experience. And there happened a crazy story. I delivered my first Greek speech in Samos on history. People were delighted. And whenever I walk through the town, hey, Kasita is here though. And one time, Kasitis, we want to excuse ourselves that the non-Greeks in Crete behaved so bad to you.
Yes.
Here you are our brother. They know that I need after a patrida. I feel at home.
Yes.
Now it's a funny thing. In a few weeks, I will deliver a Skype interview to a journalist. Kovostis organized it. I said, not in Greek. I haven't talked scientific Greek for 3 years. Conventional, I could do, but not scientific. I said, let's do it in English. Oh, yes, okay. And I will tell them, what was the case. It is slightly crazy because one of the two officers who showed me around all through Crete, we are still in contact. He brought me to his family. His mother speaks German perfectly well. And each New Year, I get a postcard from the family and from him.
I see.
When this nasty story began,
what happened with the coin Mr. Parayoudakis gave you? Did you give it back to Mr. Papachelas? Finally, what happened?
With the coin?
Yes, Mr. Parayoudakis gave you a coin, I think, or something as a gift, and you gave it. This
was years ago.
Yes, 10, 11 years ago.
I still have it in the living room. There's a box with many of these things.
Yes, I see. Because he asks for it. He said that he wrote a letter to you.
For the PhD, one gets a leaflet.
Yes.
I have it somewhere. I do not remember. You know, I live alone in my house.
Yes. No, I'm not talking about the one that you received from the university. I'm talking about the one you received from General Parayoudakis.
No.
No.
Yes. He gave me an old coin.
Yes. And then he asked to get it back.
It must be somewhere. I forgot.
Okay. You know. Okay. Let's go to more important things now. Reading your book in Greek. I don't know if we.
10 years ago.
Okay. Reading your book in Greek is very interesting. I'm not sure that the translation is absolutely 100%. Sometimes, you know, some words may cause problems. On page 442, unfortunately, I don't have the English edition. You talk about the myth, the 6 weeks myth. Can you tell me a few more things about it?
Well,
what were your ideas or intentions when you were writing the book?
Well, in ancient Greece, the life was full of myths. We know these, and there are a few myths in modern Greece. I think I have here a German title. Yeah. This book, Greece in the 20th Century, collected articles, and I have a third book, which is called Collected Modern Myths. And you know, I even gave lectures in Izmir,
yes,
in English, and in the near Gallipoli. The Turkish students and professors were delighted, despite the fact that I was very critical. And when my book appeared about the Greek-Turkish war, they told me, "Don't come. You will be arrested immediately."
Can we go back to your book?
Yeah.
You're saying that the British and the Greeks, up to some point, have created this myth.
No, I show that there were 4 weeks of no war at all, and then Hitler produced order number 38, Enterprise Mercury. Stupid, absolutely stupid. But then in Athens was the general student, and he produced a new idea to drop the parachutists on the 4 airdromes. He wrote a plan, sent it via wireless to Berlin, and the British read it. And when the parachutists came down, they were shot at with a machine gun. There was almost no Greek. A few policemen, gendarmes, but no soldiers. The Cretan division was still on the way back from Albania. Who fought in Greece? New Zealanders and Australians, and very few British. Very few. And why did the Germans succeed? Because the British made a mistake. 3 days before the parachutists came, the commander visited the places where they would be dropped, and he discovered at Malmö, in the west, there's a river, then uphill, and on top of this hill, nobody was there. He said, you should occupy it, but we don't have any forces anymore. And exactly there, a company of the parachutists dropped, found their weapons, and next day they attacked Malmö. And then it was possible that those troops who conquered Crete, the mountain troops, came in. The parachutists tried to survive. That was all.
Yes, but you're saying that it's a myth that the Greeks stopped the Germans from going to Russia, from moving the Operation Barbarossa faster.
one must read carefully what I write.
Yes.
I said that the Cretans reacted as always in the past. Whenever foreigners came to attack, they were hit.
Yes.
And this happened in the same way. These were not partisans. This was not organized. This was a tradition. And I have one example. A group of German soldiers was sitting and having lunch, and then the peasants came and killed them. This is no great national deed. It's a tradition which was common in Crete for centuries.
Yes. But you're saying in your book that this tradition was in some way organized by the British.
Yes, of course. The British didn't know anything about Cyprus, about Crete.
So you are saying that it was not spontaneous; it was organized.
No, it was spontaneous by the local peasants.
Yes.
The only organized group were the policemen, the gendarmes.
Yes.
This was all. And they fought together with the New Zealanders and the Australians.
Yes.
But there were and a few young soldiers who had become soldiers 2-3 days before.
Okay. And what about the parachutists? You write in your book that there was some kind of idealism. A lot of people have come across these words and try to understand what you mean by idealism.
Well, the parachutists were a good troop. They fought always at difficult points. Corinthos, even in Holland. And they were, of course, totally shocked when they jumped over the various points and were welcomed with machine guns. About half of them were killed in the air.
But idealism has nothing to do with war. I imagine that you're talking about idealism from a military standpoint. Have I got it right, or have I missed something here?
Once more.
You're talking about the parachutists and their idealism, but idealism has to do with different things. You're talking about them from the military standpoint.
Yeah.
Yes. Is there any idealism in war? I'm trying to understand. Okay, you're explaining a war, a battle, which lasted a week.
The main battles were fought by the mountaineers.
Yes.
They came the second day, and from Malmö on, they fought through the mountains, not down at the flat side close to the sea. And neither the British nor the New Zealanders nor the Australians could do anything against this special troop, or mountaineers. Well, they were the same type of soldier as the Greeks in Albania. Mountaineers.
Yes.
In Albania, why did they succeed so well? Because in Albania, the valleys look like this and not like this. The Italians couldn't use tanks. They walked down there, and the Greeks up here, and every 10 kilometers they came down and close.
I see. And you're saying that the British admired the parachutists.
Yes.
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 So when you're saying that they admired them, how do you support this idea? These are the most central problems in your book that most people.
Soldiers.
Yes.
Good soldiers. They did their duty. And none of them was a Nazi. They were away from them. And Nazism came later when Greece, well, and this now is important. 90% of Greece was occupied till the late summer 1943 by the Italians. Only Salonika and the surrounding, 2-3 islands west of Crete were German. All others were Italians.
Πάμε παρακάτω. Λέτε στο βιβλίο, in the book, that there can be no objective evaluation for such a war. What do you mean objective evaluation? A historian always has an approach which tries to be objective, but it cannot be 100% objective.
One should not forget. They often ask me about Calavrita.
Yes.
And I dug into this question, and I found out that this method of revenge was made by all participants of the war. I have examples in Stuttgart by the French, Aachen by the Americans, 1 to 10. When one was killed, they shot 10. And what is misunderstood in Calavrita, for example, they had a group of 60 German soldiers who were prisoners of war in Calavrita. And they cooperated with the civilians there. They worked together. And there were even negotiations. And then the communists of Calavrita made a capital mistake. They asked for exchange Nikos Zachariadis. Zachariadis then was in a concentration camp and outside the control of the army, but only under the control of the SS. The army couldn't do anything. And well, then they decided to liberate the 60. And the inhabitants did what they always did when the Germans approached, went to the mountains. And then the local communist leader said, let's shoot the Germans. The guys of Calavrita said, no, they were our guests. We cooperated for almost 6 months. We became friends. And then a guy from Mani came, Peninsula of Mani. And he said, let me give them to me, I will do it. And he shot all 60. One of them survived, went down, and next morning he met the German troops, and then the 1 to 10 problem appeared. This is a true story that Cyprus, Crete, was given to the British without any losses. Why? Because Churchill wanted to recreate the road, the maritime road to the Suez Canal, to India. And it worked. It is the only time during the war that there was an agreement between Churchill and Hitler. Unbelievable, but it's true.
Yeah, okay. When you write that the Germans were noblemen, and can you hear me? And that in a sense,
some of them were, some,
yeah,
but not all.
And that Adartes were like dirty. In the Greek book, it says vromiki.
Let me give you an example. The biggest criminal in Greece is Max Merton.
Yes.
Merton is an exceptional personality. He was a civilian in the service of an army, responsible for food, transport, sick. And when he came to Salonika, he saw that there are some 1,000 Jews. And together with a Swiss guy from the International Red Cross, they decided to help them. And once a month, each month, 2 ships appeared from Canada, Red Cross ships, with food for the population. And they decided, let's put, when the ships are empty, the Jews on them, and let us transport them to Palestine. The SS agreed. Unbelievable, but they agreed. And then they asked the guy who was in charge of Palestine, Lord Moyne. He said, no, I have enough Jews, I do not want any more. And this, Max Merton was caught after the war in the 50s, sentenced to 25 years jail. And then Karamanlis appeared in Bonn at Adenauer and told him, we will let him go if you pay reparations. And now the Germans paid, but they did not give money because they knew that the money would be stolen. It was done in 1949. They built the electricity plant in northern Greece, transport lines all over the country, because until then, no village had currency as electricity.
Yes.
And when I came to Athens in 1967, I met a former engineer, and he told me, well, this is reparation. You paid and you built. And my partner told me, well, so this was the first time that in Samos they had electricity.
Yes, okay, we can discuss that, but in your book, yes.
I have this in my new book in German. Before, you can find it in this book here in English. The George Eckert Group of German Social Democrats, Resistance in Greece. And he cooperated with Georgios Dimitrakos of the German school in Athens. He was a member of YAM.
Okay.
And then Lantz, Servas, and the British liaison officers, and the evacuation of Epirus. Servas cooperated with the Germans against the YAM.
Yes, that is very well known.
In the new German book, I give the details.
Okay, But in your book, in the Conquest of Crete, or the Battle of Crete in Greek, you say that this battle was not clean and honest, but dirty and brutal. I'm not sure if the words are the same in English. Ο πόλεμος, ο αγώνας αυτός δεν ήταν πια καθαρός και έντιμος, αλλά βρώμικος και κτηνώδης. This is, and my question is the following: is there a clean war? I mean, in the war, everybody uses all sorts of means.
Well, as I said, until late summer 1940.
I'm really sorry. Okay.
Let's hear the occupiers.
This is one of the most interesting questions, and we were interrupted.
Were committed by the Italians then until early autumn 1943, and then the Germans came in.
Yes, but why would someone use these adjectives to describe the way the Adartes or the Cretans fought against the Germans, the German army?
This began with the Italians and continued. And the Germans never grasped what the Adartes were. They simply fought against illegal groups.
This is one of the main points that I disagree with you. For if somebody invades somebody else's country, the people who are defending will do everything they can in their resource
This is
to stop the aggressors.
Greek mentality.
Yes.
It does not exist elsewhere in Europe. Resistance was totally different from Greek resistance.
True.
There's a different tradition. In the Balkans, in the southern Balkans, yes, similar. But you couldn't find some fanatic communists. But these were exceptional fanatical. When the Germans took over, they tried to come to compromises. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, but this kind of compromise means that the Cretans, the Greeks, would have to accept what the Germans had done.
Yes, of course.
This is what we call resistance. You have written a lot about the Greek resistance all over Greece. I mean, you understand.
The Cretan resistance is no resistance in the sense of Yam or Edes.
Definitely not.
This was traditional killing of invading forces, no matter who they were. It was a tradition.
I ask a lot of people about your book, and we also discuss if you see, for example, I live in Patras in Greece, 500 parachutists falling. What is the first thing that someone would do? Nobody would greet them with flowers. They would try to kill them.
Of course not. But nowhere else were they attacked having lunch. Nowhere else. I published this story. They drove down a valley and then had lunch, and put their weapons aside and ate, and then the peasants came and killed them. This was unusual. This was a different style which was unknown. The resistance in France destroyed structures, military structures, but killing, not necessarily. It's a different tradition.
Yes, but you're trying to compare the French resistance to the Cretan resistance, which is something different, because there is a difference in mentality and culture.
Western European resistance was political, and they destroyed material.
Yes.
But they never attacked because they knew they would be hit back. There's no example of French resistance attacking German soldiers. Destroying machinery, yes.
But this is one of the
different tradition.
This is one of the main points that has caused, I mean, a lot of conversation and debate about your book. For example, one of my positions, and maybe it's philosophical as well, is that no convention in war can really help people because the convention just tries to make something seem nicer. But the war is something that's tragic. People are killed, children are killed, parents are killed, men are killed.
The partisan warfare in the Balkans was totally different from the resistance in the Western Europe. Two different. Well, the Balkans, there were even an anti-Turkish element in this tradition, and this continued.
I'm not trying to say what you should have written, but maybe if you had given, let's say, 2 or 3 different examples of how resistance was in Greece and how it was in France, instead of saying this was vromikos and ktinoidis, dirty and brutal, maybe this would have changed the idea to many people. I'm not sure that this specific lines in the book helped.
Warfare, another kind of warfare.
Yes.
In Western Europe, resistance was sabotage. I do not know many cases of shootings. They existed, but these were exceptional.
Yes, and you've put in your book, I don't know about the German edition, a lot of photos showing the way at least it's like popular culture nowadays, how the Greeks resisted the Cretans with stones, with the tools that they had in their fields and so on.
A different tradition.
Yes. So if you had called it a different tradition, wouldn't that have resolved the problem? Instead, because people felt in a way insulted.
We simply have to accept this. It is a different way.
Yes.
In a different area.
Yes, but writing these specific words, and I insist a bit on this. It's like insulting the Cretans who still believe that they resisted the Germans.
The only criticism I have is this traditional peasants against foreigners.
Yes.
This has nothing to do with Nazi or with German, just foreigners.
Yes.
Who intruded the country and were attacked. This was done in the past for hundreds of years.
Yes, you're saying that this is some kind of cultural thing the Cretans have. Okay, we can agree on that. What I don't agree with you is the words. The words. These two words made many people furious, made them angry. They said that the Cretans were not dirty or filthy or whatever, and barbarians. They resisted. They resisted the Germans. I've heard you say that there were two conventions that really didn't allow people to attack the soldiers, or if there was a guerrilla war going on, it shouldn't be going on in such a manner.
Yeah, and now a big jump. My former pupil, Andreas Dario.
Yes.
It was he who suggested that they should give me the honorary doctorate. But he never went into the depths like you do.